Hello and welcome to the next YouTube video on my channel. In this video I will show and explain you how to evaluate positions correctly in chess. I have already done a video about this very important topic, so feel free to check also out part 1, which you can find in the video description after you have watched this video. In this video I will talk about the occupation of open files and ranks, because the occupation of them in a real game of chess is one of the strongest and most important positional advantages in a game. The value of such open files is that they can be used to penetrate through the many different squares to get into your opponent's army of chess pieces. In the position that you can see right now on the chessboard, the player who will be able to occupy the open and very important C file will have a big advantage in the game, because if white would start with rook to c1 here in this position, followed directly by rook to c6, he would win one of those two rooks because of the fork. The c6 square is for the black chess pieces a very weak square, but in comparison to this, the c5 square here is a very strong square for black, because the rook could become very powerful on it, defended by those two pawns here. Pretty interesting is that the f file here is actually open too, but it's definitely not that strong as the c file, because, well, if the white rook would just move on f1 and he would occupy this file, but actually there wouldn't be any use of it, probably it would be strong because the king couldn't move on this side of the chessboard, but here he doesn't have any use in comparison to if he moves on c1 to occupy the very important c6 square. And before we will take a look on another example, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm really trying to reach the 1000 subscribers right now to get monetized on YouTube, so I will be able to produce more chess videos for you and to increase the quality of them. Thank you. And now we will take a look at a new position. In the position that you can see right now on the chessboard, the white chess pieces are preparing the occupation of the again very important c file of the chessboard, especially the c7 square here. The occupation of the 7th rank, or for the white army the 2nd rank, with heavy chess pieces is very important, or from very big importance in the fight for advantage on the chessboard. I will show you now how this chess game could continue now, where white will try to occupy the c file, starting with rook to c1. Actually, also rook to c1 with the a rook would be possible. Here we start with rook to c1, and our opponent answers with rook to c8. So we now see that our opponent won't just give up this file, he will fight for it. Now we continue with knight to a5, bishop to a8, rook captures rook, queen captures back the rook. Now we bring our second rook on c1. Now it could be also the other rook here from f1, but now it's the rook from a1 attacking the queen. The queen has to escape, and she escapes on b8. Now we play the very strong move queen to c2, bringing the second heavy chess piece on the c file, followed by bishop to d8, defending the c7 square. Now the white chess pieces have basically occupied the c file, but how I've already said, the d8 bishop is still controlling the very important c7 square. But in the following moves, white can trade off the bishop and get a very big advantage on the chessboard. Here they just have to play the very strong move knight to c6 with a little fork. We attack the queen and the bishop both at the same time. So obviously black has to escape with the queen. And they play queen to b7. We capture our opponent's bishop. Our opponent captures back now with the rook. And here we are there. We play queen to c7, occupying the square. The queen, black queen moves on b8. And now we play the very strong move, and this is bishop to f2, preparing to move on h4, occupying the very strong diagonal from h4 to d8, which is possible because of black's bad structure with all of the pawns being on the white files, on the white squares. So yes, somewhere in this position, if we continue playing, white will be able to win this game completely. So now that we could evaluate that the occupation of the C file, especially the C7 square, will allow us to start a very big attack and get into winning position on the chessboard, we can start preparing this attack and focus our forces on it. Now let's take a look at another example. Here black's bishop is light square, so he controls every white square on the chessboard. But he's not that strong, because in this position right now, every one of white's pawns is placed on black squares. Therefore, this bishop doesn't do much. But in comparison to this, white's knight here on e5 is way stronger, because he can just jump across the board and take out black's pawns. For example, he could go now on b7, then on c5, and in the following move he will be able to capture black's pawn on b7 without black being able to do anything against it. So this pawn here right now on b7 is definitely the biggest weakness in black's position, and the bishop here is basically useless. In most of the cases, the bishop is stronger than the knight in endgames, when the opponent's pawns are blocked and the bishop has just the freedom to fly over the whole board, like in the position that you can see right now here on the chessboard. So here obviously the player who plays the black chess pieces has an advantage, because he has a bishop and his opponent has a knight. And here, after the king has played some moves and got into an active position, he will be able to win the game. For example, the game in this position on the chessboard could continue now with the kings moving on f8 and f1, now on e7, on e2, on d6, on d3. So we can see that the kings are just playing the similar moves to get into the center of the chessboard into active positions. And now black plays the strong move king to d5, blocking the both movement squares c4 and e4 for the white king. Therefore, white plays in this position pawn to h4, on which black answers with a very strong move bishop to c8. Here we can now in the next move go on a6 with check, winning or threatening to win white's g2 pawn here. For example, if in this position white moves the knight now on f3, we play the already announced move bishop to a6 with check. And if the king decides now to escape on e3 to be closer to these three pawns here on the king side of the chessboard, then we don't continue with bishop to f1 trying to win this g2 pawn, because he could just move up. But here we continue with a very strong move, with a very nice and good idea, king to c5. Now our opponent answers with a fork with knight to g5, but we just act like we don't care, because now we play king to b4, our opponent captures one of our pawns, let's say the pawn here now on f7, we capture our opponent's pawn here on b3, creating a pass-through pawn now on the a file of the chessboard, winning the game. So this was it then already this video in which I have shown you how to evaluate positions correctly in chess. I hope that you liked this video. If you liked it, feel free to leave a like there and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, bye!